Hey guys, how we doing? So we're going to do a fun little 90-day transformation with one of our trainers, Mike here, with the ultimate goal with like a lot of guys is to shred the body fat percentage, get some better abs, maintain muscle mass, but then also we are doing a before and after with testosterone levels as well. So Mike's going to tell you a little bit about what he's currently doing, what he was doing before this plan, what we will be doing on the 90-day transformation, and then we'll do a 45-day check-in and an analysis at the end with testosterone levels. And so Mike's going to tell you about what he's currently doing, and this is going to be a fun little process for you guys to watch this transformation, but most importantly that it's going to be a lifestyle that he will be able to maintain outside of this. It's not going to be crazy counting calories or anything like that. It's going to be pretty fun to watch this transformation. So,
all right, so before about a day ago, my old routine was I would count calories, would pay attention to my protein, my carbs, and fats, but I ate out a lot. Most of my meals probably ate out. I ate out every day. I would say 75% of my meals were not homemade.
Were they like fast food, like McDonald's, or?
No, stuff like, Whole Foods Hot Bar. It wasn't, actually I could not tell you the last time that I had fast food. It wasn't that, I definitely had pizza and stuff like that once in a while, but mainly it would just be pre-made food from the grocery store, Chipotle burrito bowls, stuff like that. And I did my best to count those calories. I'd enter them into, MyFitnessPal. I tracked the total caloric number. I always wanted to make sure I was no less than 180 grams of protein, but it was very sporadic, and there was definitely points when, if I went out to breakfast and had a bunch of pancakes and stuff like that, I'd be like, well, screw it, and I didn't really count much after that.
So what is your ultimate goal with everything?
My ultimate goal is I want to raise my testosterone levels naturally.
What were they?
They are 540 right now.
So the average range you're going to see is about 300 on the lower end to as high as about 1200. So he doesn't have low testosterone by any means. He is 540, and we're just going to see if we can boost that up over the next 3 months.
Get it up naturally. One of the things on the blood panel was my cholesterol. I had low HDLs. So I can improve those by eating some healthier fats, and I think a lot of that will come from making my own meals, getting some good red meat in there, eggs, stuff like that for breakfast, when before I was just kind of random at what I would eat and when I would eat.
What were your workouts?
My workouts I had a good workout routine. I had a 5-day split. I was doing Dr. Israel's routine for the last 5 months.
With the goal of what?
That's the thing. So, the goal of muscle size, or putting on some muscle mass, which it did do that.
Did you do much cardio?
It did not do much cardio, and I was never stringent enough with my diet to truly track it. So it's kind of wasn't wasted. I saw some size gain in it. I like it, but now it's time to be more diligent and see if I can't do a body recomp.
All right, so let me chat a little bit about what we're going to do with this. And so I'm not playing around with the programming at all. It's going to be via Dr. Rustin's program that he's going to be doing. And so when it comes to the workouts, he's doing that. I'm going to give some suggestions for NEAT. So the equation that we look at in class, we talk about educating trainers and our clients, is we look at calories in versus calories out. So essentially it's going to be your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, how much energy your brain, your liver, which is very large and requires the most amount of calories, your heart, your lungs, your muscles. About 60 to 70% of your total intake is going to be your BMR. Then we have the activity factor. So you multiply your BMR, which it's simpler equation is just your weight times 10 for a male. And then you have your activity factor. So there's givens on that. So like probably about a 1.375 or 1.55 is what we'd use for Mike. And then we have thermal effective food and the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And so we were brainstorming on ways to make this fun and for you guys to follow. Easier is to get away from the mind fuck of counting every single calories. Yes, calories are important, but we want to play with the larger variables, not to make it so neurotic. So those variables being higher fiber intake and higher protein intake, because that's going to have the greatest thermal effect of food. So if you were to consume 1,000 calories a day in protein, you're going to be burning roughly 300 calories just from consuming that. And that's pretty significant. So also by increasing your fiber intake, you can have a significant decrease in your calories in the sense you'll be burning more calories just by eating healthier foods. So the foods that we suggest, so that the plan that I'm giving for him, you got to remember, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not telling him when to eat, what to eat. He's a healthy individual. We're just playing around with some of his macros, focusing number one, most importantly, on grams of protein. So for him, his build, we're going to give him 250 grams, which is 1,000 calories a day in protein, which is primarily going to come from your protein sources. Are you going to do like shakes and stuff?
I will do shakes, but primarily meat. I want to stick to mostly chickens, but yeah, I'll supplement with shakes once in a while.
And then fiber. And the fiber is going to come primarily from your harder fruits and vegetables. So like my suggestion for him, have a pear over a banana, have an apple over blueberries, have blackberries over grapes. And my challenge with everyone is to eliminate for a time being all grains. Now let's just reiterate what I just said. To eliminate all grains and rices. I'm not saying those are bad. I'm not saying carbs are bad. What we're saying is the behavior is so second nature for Americans today to go to a sandwich, have a burrito, where there's copious amount of carbs that we could potentially decrease by having more fruits and vegetables. So again, to say that, it's not that those sources are bad. The end equation for fat loss is going to be being in a deficit. And if you have a bowl with 300 to 400 calories from carbohydrates, which would be rice, and we substitute now 3 to 4 cups of vegetables, which is 200 calories, we will be at a deficit and you will lose fat. And it's kind of cool that what we're going to see is what I've told him to expect. In the beginning, your energy levels may be a little lower, and that's going to be because how many grams of carbs do you think you were getting on your plan?
My last average, I was getting well over 200, sometimes 300. In one meal, I would get probably 150 at certain points, even though I was keeping track of calories and staying predominantly under. The carbohydrates dominated. It would sometimes I'd end up like, oh God, I can't even eat that much more protein because there was always a sacrifice there. And so now I've cut down to 150 to 100 grams of carbs with the 250 of protein.
Trainers are notorious, and people in the bro community, they're notorious for, you got to have more carbs, got to have more carbs. And I'm all for that, but what people don't do is think for themselves. So my challenge on this plan is to learn what your body is capable of utilizing for fuel with a lesser dependent on carbs. Carbs are great, but I think that the average person who goes to the gym, their workouts suck. So they give themselves way too many calories. I worked out for an hour. I need 400 grams of carbs per day. Dude, do you really need that? Is your goal to have excess adiposity in your belly, or do you want to have a six-pack? And I think if we're more mindful of our food choices, so protein and vegetables, and we're posting on Instagram, one of the things that we're trying to spread with branding is 18 of your 21 meals of the week, make them just protein and vegetables. And so predominantly high protein, lots of fibrous carbs. And what you're going to find in the beginning, you may have a little lower energy levels because you're not depending on much on those simpler carbs. But another big thing is the micronutrient value is going to be a lot denser. So you're going to be getting a lot more better values from your vitamins and minerals. When you eat breads and rices, they aren't as abundant in those sources, but when you switch that with your leafy greens and your broccoli, broccolini, asparagus, red bell peppers, have fun with the spectrum. But this is just a challenge to address the behavior. That's our problem as a fat ass nation. It's addressing the behavior. It's not the source. If you wanted to throw in some carb sources, which are more grain-based, that's fine. But just be aware that it's the easier way out. It's a lot more difficult to cook a bunch of broccoli or vegetables than just to throw in a cup of rice. You get a little, those little things from Trader Joe's, put them in the microwave for 2-3 minutes, and you have a cup of rice right there. It's just easier to do. And so that's what we're going to challenge with the diet side of things. And then the testosterone thing, which will be fun, is we're going to challenge him to increase his NEAT. So anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of cardio. Cardio is a great supplement for fat loss. Think of it like this. If you were to have a sandwich that's 250 calories, if you just eliminate the sandwich, that would be option 1. Option 2, go do 45 minutes to an hour of cardio. So if you want to go do 45 minutes to an hour of cardio, that's fine. But why not be aware and mindful of both? So maybe have half the sandwich and, or even better, chicken breast like you saw today. And it's really one of the things that we're going to be doing is measuring out the chicken. So as he put on the scale today 6 ounces of what a chicken breast was, he was like, whoa, shit, this is not as much as I would like it to be. So it's again, you're changing your mindset via classical conditioning. Pavel and his dogs, you guys remember the story about ringing the bell. They begin to train themselves to salivate off that ring. So the same thing kind of goes with food. You look at food, and it's like, oh, I need more. But you don't actually measure it out. You tell yourself you do. I'm a fat ass. I grew up with 3 older brothers, and we would always compete for the food. And so we just eat it as fast as you can. But if your goal is fat loss and you have 12 ounces of chicken, and yes, you're full, but you take that back and you have 6 ounces of chicken, you're getting the sufficient amount of protein you need. You're decreasing your calories, and you'll start burning more fat. So that's going to help a lot with the body fat percentage, addressing the protein in vegetables. But some suggestions that we're going to look at just to burn off some extra fat was the cardio. And then increasing because when you went to the nurse, she said more vitamin D. Mm-hmm. So you're going to go, I think, 5,000 or to 9,000 units is what she suggested. Make sure to check with your medical provider to see what they suggest, and that's what she's going to go off of. And then also increase your zinc intake, which can be
zinc and omega-3.
So your fish oils.
Fish oil.
3 to 6 and 9 are the essential fatty acids, of which we have a greater ratio as Americans from 6 to 3, which could make the body a little more inflammatory. So we want to flip-flop that, get a little more 3s. So getting, for him, 2 to 4 grams of fish oil per day. It's going to help with your brain health as well. And the nootropic values of getting fish oil just gets kind of like really good. Think of it as like miracle growth for your brain. Your brain likes fish oil. So to reiterate, big things that we're going to be doing. Eliminating grains. We're going to really challenge ourselves to eliminate them completely. As we mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if you have a slip up. Just be aware of it. Don't beat yourself up. Never ever beat yourself up. Never punish yourself for a meal. So if you are starving one day and you do have a Chipotle bowl, it's not the end of the world. Maybe try to be more mindful of what you put in there. So like when I go there, I'll just get the vegetables and the chicken. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to do. Today I went to Whole Foods and I got the hot bar, and it was just, I think it was pulled pork with broccoli.
Wait, is oats a grain?
Yeah.
Oats are grain?
Yeah.
That's breakfast.
Yeah. So
that's the only grain serving.
Yeah. So he's having oatmeal, which is fine. It's the one carb source that he's going to get from oats in that way, which is fine. And so I challenged him today. He's had 2 scoops. I said, I have 1. Lessen the dependency on the psychology of just getting more. And I think that as Americans, we're really poor with that. So you're training yourself. And in the beginning, it's not going to be easy. Just to go off on a quick little tangent, I tell people, I challenge you to wake up 2 hours earlier than you're used to. The first couple of weeks suck. It's not fun. But after a couple of weeks, you get used to it. So the same approach, and the mind is so important, because if you go in with this expectation it's just going to be a breeze, piece of cake, that's bullshit. It's not. You're going to have workouts that are going to be a little lower. Be aware of that, communicate that with us, and then we will maybe up your carb source. And just look at your sleep, look at your stress. There's a lot of other extrinsic factors that in play that's not always just fuel. So the first couple of weeks, you're going to have lower energy. Just accept that. Have more coffee. But try to get your optimal amounts of sleep. We're going to up the vegetable, probably anywhere from 4 to 6 cups a day. Mm-hmm. Up the protein to about 250 grams. What type of cardio do you like to do?
So Rustin's routine, it's a 5-day split. 2 days are dedicated to strength, lower body strength, upper body strength. And then a few days are split for hypertrophy, for a full body, split between those days. So also at the end of those, there's like metabolic or cardio options, kettlebell swings, stuff like that. So I'm thinking, I usually don't do those. I mean, this is my first week doing it. I didn't do them this week, but I will throw those in there and just keep that routine, essentially.
I like that. So like this week I did a little metabolic finisher at the end of a workout. I was doing, what the hell was I doing? Jump rope for a minute, into step ups, into calf raises, into RDLs, into some other exercise. So essentially it's a cardio followed by a multi-joint, followed by an isolated movement, followed by a core or another cardio, 3, 4, 5 exercises, no rest. So if you want to do kettlebell swings, you do whatever he has in there. Metabolic just means constant work with little to no rest periods. You do that for 5, 10, 15 minutes at the end of a workout, you'll be burning an extra 200-300 calories. But just be mindful and aware that let's try to walk a little bit more. So Whole Foods is maybe 0.75 miles away, walk there. Parking is a bitch. I was trying to do that today, and it was terrible. So if you walk down there, walk back, you get some extra calories. When he first started class, he was biking extra, how many miles? 14 miles to and from school, and you lost how much weight?
Almost 20.
20 pounds. That's what NEAT is. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, upping that. But most importantly, the purpose of this is to make it sustainable long term. Girls stereotypically want flat stomach, big ass, toned arms. Guys want a six-pack. We want big arms and a nice block chest. So why not try to live that all the time and not be in a yo-yo where you get shredded in 90 days, but then you go back to where you're at. It's not that you're unhappy now. He has a great mindset, and the body image stuff is there in a good way, but we can all get better. You can get better. I can get better. Yeah, I guess I can get better. And, we can all improve, so it's good to challenge ourselves. Most importantly, diet. If you break down the word, diet means lifestyle. So we're going to maintain this for the rest of the time being. Any other ending notes or any hypotheses on expectations or concerns, anything along those lines?
So I think one of the problems that I've always had of keeping myself accountable is not, for one, probably not getting anybody else involved makes a difference. So now that there's other people involved, now that there's something going on, that it's been stated, that I'll be more likely to follow through. Accountability.
Showing up.
Also taking progress photos. If you at least do that, you don't have to share them with anybody, or do share them with somebody, the accountability, but then you've really started. Then it's like, okay, this is where I'm beginning, and you need to see a progression to know that you've actually given your enough effort. So, I'm excited to see. Hopefully I get below. Right now I'm at 176 with about 15% body fat. So obviously I'd like to keep the scale weight up as much as possible to say that I'm replacing it with muscle. It's going to come down. Hopefully that's minimal, but I would like my body fat to at least be under 10%, maybe around 8. So.
And one of the fun things that we forgot to mention, when you do a caloric deficit, testosterone levels typically do go down. So we will see how we can try to optimize the testosterone production while in a slight deficit. So part of the fun. Always experiment on yourself. Do it in a fun way, in a safe way. Make sure there's a professional monitoring you. Don't do it for some dipshit online who has just a lot of Instagram followers. Make sure they have the proper credentials. And this is our little fun little anecdote to see how this program is going to work. If you want to follow along, I'll write an article on a blog and put the links and everything in there so we can check in its progress. So that's it.